Is Matt LaFleur in such shambles that he's helping out his old pal, Sean McVay, to get ready for the Chicago Bears? We're going to talk about that, plus Sean McVay sounding off on all things, getting ready for this matchup in the divisional round of the playoffs. We'll get to it here on today's show. But if you want the Bears to not only just beat, but to destroy the Rams, hit that thumbs up icon, like this video. Let's get win number 13 and advance to the NFC Championship game. I'm Harrison Graham, Sean McVay, old pals with Matt LaFleur. Is he getting some tips, some inside information from the Packers head coach as he gets ready to come to Soldier Field and play the Chicago Bears? Well, Sean McVay was asked about Matt LaFleur and whether or not they have talked this week. He said, in kind of a funny manner, "What would you guess? Nah, you know what? We watch the tape. We do our work. Matt's a very close friend of mine," as he smiled and chuckled, and so did the media members. They have clearly talked. Now, in what capacity? I doubt that they've sat down for 10 hours and done film studies together, although you never know. They're both football junkies, and LaFleur clearly is pissed off, and, I don't blame him. But the way he answered that question, they have had a conversation. Now, tidbits here and there. How much does it matter? It's hard to say. I will say this. Matt LaFleur is clearly not happy. And it goes back to January when Ben took the job and he said, "Listen, I enjoyed beating Matt LaFleur twice a year," which he backed up, beat him 2 out of 3 times this year, which upset LaFleur as well. The frosty handshake last week, LaFleur was not happy about. And then, of course, I'm sure he's seen the clip, Ben saying F the Packers in his locker room speech. And then Ben even doubling down when asked about it by the Bears media, like, hey, now that time has passed, the emotions are, have passed. And he said, "Now George McCaskey and I are on the same page. I don't like that team. This is a rivalry. It needs to be a rivalry." So, is Matt LaFleur super motivated for the Bears to lose? I'm sure he'd be a little happy if his buddy Sean McVay took care of the Chicago Bears. Now, what is their connection? They were on that famous coaching staff in Washington in the early 2010s under Mike Shanahan. Mike McDaniel was also there, so was Kyle Shanahan. A jam-packed staff. Raheem Morris, I think, was on that staff as well. LaFleur also was Sean McVay's offensive coordinator when he first got the job in L.A. He did not call plays, but he was the OC in 2017 before going to Tennessee to become their OC, and then he got the Packers head coaching job. All of this to stop Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. It's somewhat tongue-in-cheek by me, but look, these aren't necessarily abnormal things. Coaches talk to other teams sometimes, try to get a tip here and there if there's good faith between both sides. Does it make a huge difference? Probably not. I mean, I'm sure LaFleur could be like, yeah, in this situation, he'd probably do this tendency. Well, that's on film too. Sean's a pretty smart guy. I'm sure watching film all week long, he's probably picked up on some things that Ben likes to do. I want to ask you guys, do you put any weight in this? And LaFleur helping Sean McVay again? Is it help? I don't know. Are they actually talking extensively? I don't know that either. Type Y for yes, type in for no. I would say mostly no. Maybe there's a percentage of 1% that there's some kind of difference Matt LaFleur could make. But both games have played 18 games. Ben, DA, the Bears have watched all the Rams tape, vice versa. Both teams are well coached. Both teams are smart. There's no secrets. I'm sure Ben will have a few new wrinkles. I'm sure Sean will as well. That's kind of what goes into a game plan each week. You have your principles, and you add a couple of things. Maybe it's a new concept. Maybe it's a trick play. Maybe it's, hey, we've been doing this recently on 3rd and short. Let's go to that. There's always new wrinkles, but everybody knows what most teams like to do at this point in the season. You're probably not going to see radical changes in the divisional round of the playoffs. It comes down to execution. It comes down to timely play calling. Sean McVay had this to say earlier in the week on Ben Johnson. He says he does a great job. I've studied him very closely from when he took over in Detroit. I think the guys that do the best job are the ones you can see have a true understanding of what the defenses are doing and an intent to be able to manipulate a lot of the rules. being able to maximize his players' skill sets. You can see there's philosophies and core beliefs of how he wants to build it. You look at the free agents they signed and the guys they drafted high up, taking the tight end, for example. Remember, Sean McVay wanted Colston Loveland. He's someone who has the ability to have one of the best offenses with a guy like Jared Goff, who's special, and then be able to have someone or some similar principles with Caleb Williams, but also be able to accentuate the things that makes him unique with his athleticism. He does a damn good job. And I would expect Sean McVay to say nothing else or nothing less. He is well aware of Ben Johnson's offensive acumen. He's gone against him multiple times when the Rams were playing the Lions. Ben Johnson actually beat him twice. Once in a playoff game a couple years ago, then again in the regular season last year as the Lions offensive coordinator. A couple of close games there. These are two of the smarter offensive coaches in the game right now. So, the LaFleur angle is interesting. I don't think like Sean McVay, there's been this Twitter thing that Ben Johnson is making enemies out of everyone. I don't think Sean McVay and Ben Johnson are enemies. Now, they may not be buddies like LaFleur and McVay are, but, Ben Johnson, Matt LaFleur, yeah, that's one thing. I don't think Sean McVay all of a sudden is the clone of Matt LaFleur this week. If he gets a tip or two from his buddy, so be it. But I don't think it's going to make some massive difference overall. On the flip side, which we discussed this week, Ben Johnson gave a lot of praise to both Ben Johnson and Matt Stafford, or to Sean McVay and Matt Stafford, I should say. He does a phenomenal job, Ben said. All of his teams are well prepared. There's no doubt. He's super sharp on the offensive side, but how he does it as a head coach, bringing all three phases together, is really critical to their success. There's a reason why they're in it every year. And I will say this. These coaches nowadays, especially these offensive guys, it seems like, they have a lot of competitive fire. And, we always talk about in sports, like quarterback head-to-head. That was always the thing with Brady and Manning. It was, fans always felt like, especially early on in their careers, Manning was the better player, but Brady won the head-to-heads, right? And so that was always like a huge debate. I think there's a lot of truth to that with these coaches, too. Like Ben Johnson, he's like, man, I already handled LaFleur. 2 out of 3, won the playoff game. That's advantage me. Now I get a chance to beat the best guy head-to-head, best guy going in the NFC right now in Sean McVay. If I can do that, like trust me, that is something bouncing in the back of Ben's mind. It's not at the forefront. The focus is how do I just win this game? But there's a small piece of the puzzle, and they're like, hey, man, I want that 1-0 against McVay as a head coach, especially in the playoffs. So these guys are very competitive, and I would expect them to both have a fiery approach to this matchup. All right, coming up, Sean McVay continues to sound off. He had some strong words on Bears quarterback Caleb Williams. We will dive into that here in just a second, but today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. Whether you're starting a new routine, making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard, but in life and on PrizePicks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops, and PrizePicks lets you take control. New feature, PrizePicks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. On PrizePicks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose the flex play option where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the power play. No matter your play, PrizePicks is a great way to put your takes to the test. Awesome opportunity. C.J. Stroud, more than half a passing yard. Max discount offer. Take advantage. Pair that with something else. You're halfway home to a win in a PrizePicks lineup. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you get play your first $1 lineup, first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it is good to be right. Okay, Sean McVay also talked about Caleb Williams and the difficulties of slowing him down and kind of the run he's been on recently. Here's what he had to say about Caleb. He said, playmaking ability, explosive plays, his ability to make plays within the pocket, drive the ball to all parts of the field, but then to be able to extend plays, keep his eyes downfield, and make unbelievable throws off platform or with his legs. He's an explosive play waiting to happen. It's why they've been able to get back in games and finish the way they have. There's a belief that they've established. It's no different with Matthew, his quarterback, Matthew Stafford, the other day. He had full expectation to lead us down the field. I feel that when I watch Caleb and that team. He's a nightmare to defend. And there was no better example of just the explosive play waiting to happen with Caleb Williams in that fourth quarter. That's why the Bears put up 25 points. That's why he almost threw for almost 200 yards, 2 touchdown passes. It's why it was his 7th game-winning drive of the year. We've seen it. If you don't put the Bears away, like the Packers were unable to do, watch out and good luck. Because when the Iceman breaks through, there's no stopping him. We saw it on Saturday night. Once they got that first touchdown, they were not going to be stopped. And, you just hope as a Bears fan, if it could just start a little bit earlier. But regardless of the scenario, regardless of how the game plays out, if you get to the fourth quarter with the chance, Caleb Williams is going to make plays. And he's going to find a way to break through and figure out how to attack these defenses. We saw it last week. We've seen it all year. Sean McVay knows it. And, if I'm the Rams, the message all week is like, hey, do not let up, right? Like, Matt LaFleur started running the ball too much in that second half. Hey, let's suck the clock. Let's try and just finish this game. It's like, Matt, this isn't working. That's why Packers fans are pissed off. Because if you give Caleb Williams enough cracks at it, he's going to break through eventually. How confident are you in Caleb right now? Scale of 1 to 10. I'm pretty damn confident. I'm at like a 9-2. I'm hoping for faster starts, but Ben even said it this week, and I don't even disagree with him. I thought he was fine in the first half. He wasn't at his best, but like if Luther Burden runs the right route, if a couple other things are cleaned up, then maybe they have like 10, 13 points at the half, but in the end, he found a way to win because that's what he does. Ben Johnson also wanting to revisit this just to kind of show the mutual respect, saying this about Matthew Stafford, a guy he was around for a couple of years in Detroit. He said, I have so much respect for that guy, the ultimate competitor. He's one of the more supremely talented throwers of the football that I've ever been around in my life. He's outstanding. He's a great teammate. But what I think is second to none with him is toughness, physical toughness. This guy has gone through a lot, yet he finds a way to be on the field for his teammates. When you look at him from a competitor standpoint, this is a really good player. He's going to will himself to help his team out the most. And look, I think there's a lot of mutual respect here with Ben Johnson, Sean McVay. Again, they're probably not best pals. They haven't coached on staffs together like Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur, but I don't think Sean McVay needs Matt LaFleur for game planning or for motivation. Like, he'll take it. He'll take, hey, Matt, or hey, Sean, I got something for you. Here's a clip. Go check this out. Like, sure, but like, Sean hasn't slept this week. He's watched every Bears game. I promise you that. And he's living in the film room figuring out how to attack Dennis Allen's defense, how he can help Chris Shula out to get stops at Caleb Williams. And in the end, these teams are going to be well prepared. They're going to be well coached, and it's going to come down to probably a handful of plays. And if it does, I like the Bears in that scenario because they've been the clutchest team in the NFL this year, and we'll see if that can continue on Sunday night. All right, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Chicago Bears Now. If you made it to this point in the video, it is the end of the video, and that makes you a real one, so hit that subscribe button. My name is Harrison Graham. Bear down.